All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take a look at the journey of SSMI Asia and the road ahead. I mean, he was referred to quite fondly throughout the entire panel discussion. It's my pleasure to welcome on stage Dumidu Ranaweera, Global Director for APAC, Middle East and Africa for SSMI.
I thought I would share my story today and how we end up being SSMI and a room full of people who are here to graduated at different levels. So where it all started is way back in 2004. My first job was doing consulting. I was too young for consulting at that time. So there was a startup company that ran in one small room. At that time, we were mostly into consulting companies on certification on ISO 9000, 14000, OSHAs and all those stuff. But there was a time around like 2004, I think that practice is still there, where most of the ISO audit firms, like auditor firms in Sri Lanka, started doing consulting. So which is a bit of conflict of interest. This created a huge decay in terms of the market. A lot of people lost faith in certain management system standards because the same person do consulting comes and do the auditing and issue the certification. We have been consulting 50 companies at that time. I looked very young at that time, and because I was kind of having a baby face, I used to wear fake specs, if you can see. So at that time, there was the certification manager at that time was Sri Lanka, who's currently one of our MBB students. So he actually gave me a book, which was that book, and he said, this is something interesting, and you should read that out. I photocopied, I read it, and I loved it. I loved the fact that the whole story that the book carried, and that book was written by Dr. Mikel Harry. And the time passed by, I really want to learn this because the whole management system market is getting saturated. I thought, let's move on and start learning about this. And at that time, there were very few companies actually have embarked upon Six Sigma or Lean. There was Ansel, I remember. Brandix must have just started this whole practice. And there was WNS. So I got to know WNS had a master black belt at that time. So WNS had a master black belt. His name was Shishir Prasad. So I thought, let's apply. My qualification or whatever I had actually fit the bill, so they hired me. So I was so happy. I'm finally going to learn Six Sigma from a master black belt. But just after 3 months I've joined, he left the company. And he joined a company back in Singapore. So I was stuck. So I was so frustrated. I wanted to learn Six Sigma. And there's this master black belt I found. I joined the company, but he left. So there was time that to wait for another master black belt to come in. But most of the people who came down at that time thought Six Sigma is something I will not teach. You will learn, but a little bit. Like for example, the company at that time, a graduation period of 2 to 3 years. You get certified and certificate comes after 3 years. They were using it as retention strategy. I didn't really like it, and especially if you want to do analysis, you have to carry the data to the MBB. MBB does the analysis for you, and then you need to figure out what to do with it. So that was the kind of culture we had, so which actually frustrated me. And the other thing that frustrated me was, I attended my first green belt training when I was somewhere around 24 years old. And when I went to training, so I was happy now, finally learning green belt training. I didn't understand anything, right? I didn't get anything. I was so frustrated. I love this, but I can't understand this. So I really wanted to learn what this was. And then, of course, at that time, there was no books available. Expo Graphics is, Pradeep is in the house. I don't know whether Pradeep is here. So Expo Graphics had one book on Six Sigma. That's it. And you know what I did at that time? I used to call my friends and say, you go to this English bookstore and ask for Six Sigma books. So at least at the end, they will start bringing up, because for me to bring down from Amazon.com at that time was really expensive. That's how I actually wanted to go about and learn. And then, of course, the same time, I met my better half, which is actually the better half. Yeah, so it's very important in anyone's life, I think, when you do something, you have the right amount of support. But she's way smarter than me, but then when I really want to learn, she actually did support me all throughout. So luckily in WNS, I actually won an award which helped me to go and do my black belt certification. And that is where I actually learned something about Six Sigma. So I was pretty happy, and that also ended up me a job in Dialogue. Dialogue hired me just because I was a black belt. I was 26 years old. The current CEO, Supun, hired me. I had 2 managers reporting to me. He was like 38, 39, right? I was 26. And just Six Sigma got me there. So I was very happy. But now I want to start Lean Six Sigma. So my boss at the time actually had tried Six Sigma, and it has not worked well. So he said, Dumi, hold on. We don't want to do Six Sigma here, right? We tried, and it didn't work out well. So now I'm completely disappointed. At that time, Dr. Hans got appointed as COO for the Asiata group, and they had to do a blueprint because he had a KPI to deliver to do process improvement. The blueprint designing came to me because I was in that whole team. And when it came to me, you know what I did? I didn't use Lean or Six Sigma. I just used DMAC in that, right? You know what DMAC is? But it was something called excellence group. But the whole concept was around Six Sigma, but never had the word Lean or Six Sigma. So my boss went and presented to the group, came back and said, you know, the directors told me, this looks like Six Sigma. You know Six Sigma, right? Can you be the Six Sigma expert for this group? So I went to join Asiata as a Six Sigma expert. And I got to do what I love. But what I really wanted to do is enterprise-wide model. If you know Lean Six Sigma, there are different types of deployment model, which suits different types of situations. So WNS actually had good enterprise model going, but the opportunities was less to really get it out. And then my boss left Dialogue. And I was given the opportunity to report to the current CEO or to a lady called Sandra. She's here. So obvious choice for me was Sandra, not because of anything, the whole package itself. If you know in Dialogue, you know who Sandra is. She supported me all the way through, and we had the first ever graduation in Dialogue way back in 2012. Maybe about 100 people got graduated. So I still call her Jack Welch of Six Sigma. Being there for some time, I really wanted to learn more. Dialogue was a case study that we got to feature. A lot of people do not know that Dialogue was a case study featured abroad. In 2010 was where we first featured Dialogue as a case study for Lean Six Sigma, representing the country for the first time. And 2012, I was invited to be the keynote speaker in one of the conferences in Singapore. So this is really good, right? You do learn something, and then it helps to create an identity for your country. See, my beginning, I really didn't have anybody to teach Six Sigma. It was a complete struggle. So what I wanted to do was actually to spread it out. Now even today, after a lot of people, after every batch, they come and tell me, Dumi, enough training, stop training, enough black belts here. Now if you really look at stats, Sri Lanka as a country, I know there are a lot of foreigners here, but Sri Lanka as a country, we have 2 million people where we have altogether about 5,000 people who are even close to getting, certified or practitioners. Where a country like Singapore, which is like 1/4 of our population, they have 70,000 people. And in a year, we get about 60,000 people to our employment force. So we generally train about 100 in a year, which is what percentage that we are really talking this concept through. Yes, moving on. Meeting Dr. Harry. Of course, at that time, I started writing to Dr. Harry on LinkedIn. I never got a reply. Sandy knows well. So I used to write and write and write, no reply. And so I used to wish for birthdays. I used to say, good morning, no reply. Right? But he was a connection to me. So, but one day, I think way back, I had a conference invitation in Chicago, called the Expo. And that's where actually our meeting actually got initiated. Oceania and I was in Chicago, so we traveled all the way to Arizona. And so we thought, like, VIP, 5 minutes, we are done. Take photographs, we are happy, let's go. But for some reason, you know, things happens in life. The connections was so strong. We stayed, I think, the whole day until the evening. After that, I got a lot of invitations to travel to US to speak, especially in ASQ conferences, and so that's where I met Dave. Dave is here. So I met Dave along. Hi, Dave. Yeah. So every time when I was in US, of course, sometimes most of the conferences was happening in Arizona, so we ended up meeting. And so it was more like a friendship that grew over a period of time. One of the times that actually we met in Arizona, there was this EMBB program which was running. Suddenly, I think Sandy, you or Tyrone at that time came and said, you know what, Doc is thinking of bringing this back to Asia because the whole dilution and pollution of Lean and Six Sigma happens in these parts. I was working at that time in Malaysia. When they said to start this business for this area, I was really to know what to do. Tyrone just said, they're saying something, you said yes, you say yes. I said, right, yes, I'll do it. That's how actually the company got started. So I was in Malaysia, so I was given the request to start this business, mainly because Dr. Harry's vision to get the original concept back in the market. He felt if you dilute the concept, over a period of time, the people you generate out of that whole dilution are not capable of giving results. So that results in disbelief on the concept. It affects the concept itself. So this is why, being a co-creator, he wanted to pass this back to Asia, the original program. And that is where the company started. So initially, I didn't have a company, I was working. Aroshi had a company called Six Sigma Asia. So this is where we started this. Six Sigma Asia was there for a long period of time. We were supporting a lot of conferences in Singapore. And we were featured from 2012 as media sponsors. So the whole idea was to start this company initially in Malaysia or Singapore, because that is where we were at that time. But we decided to bring this here simply because we wanted to have the head office of Asia office in Sri Lanka. When we come to Sri Lanka, of course, we had to appoint partners, and that is where Inoka came in. Inoka was our batchmate. I really didn't know much about Inoka, but it was Aroshi's decision to say, no, you should. And our first customer is in the house. There you are. That's our first customer. Now, you bring a top-class product to this country, and you try to explain this to people, because the dilution is so much, people don't get it. So, the only person I could convince at that time was Chambar. Chambar was my staff at Dialogue. He has been with me, so I think he could not say no to me. So, when he wanted to do the Black Belt program, he signed up with us, and he was our first Black Belt in Sri Lanka. And of course, our first client was NTB. And thanks to Renzi, Ranmo, and of course Renuka at that time, we got our first client way back in 2014, early 14. And I'll tell you, after that, then we started getting in slowly into the industry. When we even entered the market, our product pricing was little too high than what competitors are offering. But if you really know, you see the crowd over here, quality really wins. If you really believe, if you deliver a good product, I think at the end of the day, people do love quality over all the other things. So since then, we've been having a lot of fun. That's how I would like to call it. We have not been a training company or a consulting company. We are more being a company who would like to inculcate or encourage or, make you guys believe in a concept that would help yourself, your country, and society as large. Especially if you take Sri Lanka as a country, we do not have capacity. A lot of people think we have this, we have that. Yeah, we are resourceful, but we do not have capacity. In a country that do not have capacity, the only way we can win the market, win the world, is by producing value-added products and services. That's what Japanese did. And Japanese used stories like Toyota to brand their country and brand other products. Take Samsung. Samsung, the phone was nothing long time back, but they used the quality of their phones. Now we think the Samsung TV is also great. Samsung comes up with something, oh, Samsung fridge is also great. Every other product is great. So similarly, we strongly believe taking Lean Six Sigma to all levels of the organizations in the country will help this country to grow. And that is the whole ambition of SSMI Asia. We have been everywhere. I've been to Kilnochi, I've been to all the universities in this country to talk about this. And of course, we believe, as most of the panelists mentioned, this concept should be part of our academia, part of our curriculum. Certain things that when you go through the classes, you tell me, this should have been told us during school days, right? To use, just not depend on single factor of average. We are so, like if you take cycle time for a value stream, we go by average cycle time or best repeat time, but you never see the distribution in a process. There is variation and there is centering and all that in even a single step. So much cornered into simple fact of average, right? So even selecting cricket players, like Angelo Matthews, recently someone said, why Matthews is not there? Matthews' average sometimes is 40, but say 50. Cricket average is I keep on explaining, is a bit funny. So if someone scores 2 runs, the other guy scores 18 runs, average is 10. So you don't see the variation. As a company, as SSMI, being there for a long period of time, we are proud that we have achieved certain milestones, like being able to introduce Lean Six Sigma to Maldives. We had the first training with the help of Adam in the house over there, partner HR Maldives in Maldives. We had our first training. Now we have people who are going through black belt and green belt training in Maldives. And of course, something I'm really proud of is to produce the oldest black belt in Sri Lanka. Maybe, I don't know, in the region. He was 60 years old, Rex Fernando. He couldn't attend today. Was our oldest black belt to do this. So every time someone comes and say, Six Sigma was so hard. See, I say, hey, he did it. And this is something a lot of people, I think, aware of. 2 years back, I actually came across Garmin and Sunet. So we started off training way back in now 2017, the Sinhala training, because we believed, and as a company, that is the only way we can take this to all levels who can't speak English and who does not understand English, because they had that whole appeal to that people. So now if you take there today, will be the first ever artist in the country to receive their green belt certification. Isn't that great? When I do Sinhala training nowadays, initially 30% of the training was done by them. I do about 70%. Now they don't let me train. Enthusiasm they have shown on the subject is amazing. I used to get calls, especially from Garmin in the night, what is this 2T test? I need to know. Right? So it's very interesting and very encouraging as a pair of artists. And also something that we are really proud of as a company, to do the first Master Black Belt training in Sri Lanka, and you'll see them getting graduated, the guys who have completed the requirement. When I want to do Master Black Belt, Sandra is the one who sponsored me, and it was a real struggle. I had to go travel 4 times to India. Then of course I met Guruji. So Guruji is a fantastic resource, if you know. We signed with Guruji for a long period of time as our faculty. So with all that, we were able to do our first Master Black Belt program in Sri Lanka. And of course, you will see all these people, most of them, except Srinath. Srinath is the same person who lent me that book, will be featured tonight. All right. And of course, we did get a lot of accolades during our time. This year, we were called the best Lean Six Sigma training and consulting organization by one of the award ceremonies, and also as the best Lean Six Sigma training and consulting organization in Asia in Singapore, in an award ceremony held in Singapore. But what really matters to us as a company is this. This was, people in the picture know this was. So if you look at this picture, this is getting ready for this conference. Right? So you see Inoka over there, who's holding papers. That's Sunet, Chutimali, who's on there. And that's Rajika. And if you look at all these batchmates, we never invited them to come and help us, but they volunteered. This is what we really wanted to create as a company. A culture really wants to help out each other and also do improvements, take this thing forward. A lot of people think, what if you keep training, don't you create competition? Now, you won't believe, every consulting company in Sri Lanka, even here a lot of consultants, have our people. And am I to be worried about? No. As what Sandra rightly said, we love that. I think we support a lot of consultants. We love the fact that our people are being acquired by all these companies and they are making use of that to improve companies and at the end the country. So people, I think, have to change the way of holding back. That thing, struggle that got me into doing this company. But if you, so I really do want to hold on to anything. I don't think even Dr. Harry did. And that's why if you see, he has given out everything he can. So at the end of the day, you see people from different batches working to make this event a success, or if you think it's a success. So this is what it's all about.